Hey, hello everybody, and welcome back. This is our last sharing in song in this series. And tonight, Kyriakos is going to share something from for the Nativity. So, Kyriakos, want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the hymn?
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Barbara. Um, so usually I'm the tech guy, and this is the first time that somebody's doing their own tech and also presenting, so this is kind of exciting. The hymn that I'm presenting is a Sakellarides classic, I think, but not everybody knows it, so I guess it can't be a classic in that sense. Um, what I like about this hymn, the Nativity Exapostilarion, is that we don't always sing it in church from the choir side of things, because the place of this hymn is actually during Orthros, and most choirs are not singing or chanting during Orthros. Usually the psalty is doing that. And if the chanter's doing it, you might know the melody, but you wouldn't hear this full harmonized version that somebody's put together. So I think it's very special. My home parish, St. John the Forerunner in Youngstown, Ohio, we had a old beat up copy of this hymn. Who knows how many photocopies were made of photocopies from some Methgox convention or something years back. And I found it one day and I said, hey, this sounds really pretty. Why don't we sing it? So we took it to our priest and got his blessing to sing it as a backup communion hymn. Because on Christmas and Christmas Eve, how many people go up for communion? So we were given the blessing to do this as a secondary communion hymn, kind of as a filler, because of how pretty it is, how good the I guess how great of a hymn it is, and how infrequently people hear it. And then we also use it as a recessional, typically on Christmas Day or the Sunday following. And it's only sung on Christmas Day typically. I looked it up. It's actually towards the end of Orthros, just before the doxology would be chanted. It's just kind of mixed in with a few other hymns and responses, and it's in there. So if you look it up, you'll find it on December 25th. I looked it up on Ages Initiative. It was in there. And so I transcribed this hymn, a nice, neat copy back when I was at my home parish. And then I had a chance to do this hymn with the Pittsburgh Pan-Orthodox Choir in 2015 or 16. I think it was 15. I introduced it to them, and we did it at a Pan-Orthodox choir convention, or choir performance, excuse me. It was, Antiochian, Serbian Orthodox, Ukrainian. Everybody put together a slightly different presentation, and this hymn was definitely one of the winners of that evening. I think a lot of people were asking for the sheet music because they said, we've never heard that before, and I have it in English and in Greek. So for those non-Greek speakers or parishes that don't favor the Greek, don't worry, we have it in both. And tonight we'll be focusing on the English. I don't have a good recording for you, so what I'll be doing is playing it on my piano and playing the parts for you. And then if we need to slow down or speed up to make up with time, we'll figure it out as we go. But the goal is that by the end of the night, at least the melody will be stuck in your head, and maybe you'll have learned a little bit of your part, and the challenge will be to take it back home to your choir when it's safe to do so, and maybe add it to your repertoire. So I think this is a good time, Vicki, for me to put the music up and
Sure.
let everybody listen to it.
We've got to do that again.
I'll ask that everybody stays on mute for the duration of the presentation until the very end. If you have questions, you can type them to Vicki or Barbara. I think they're going to Vicki.
They're going to me, yeah. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it? Are you seeing it?
I just put it up.
Oh, you put it up.
Yeah, I'm putting it up. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to share, unless if I have a technical difficulty, maybe I'll ask you to help me out.
Okay.
But so this is the Nativity Exapostilarion, Exapostilarion Christougianon in English and Greek with the phonetics, which was quite a challenge to put together, but I did my best so that the music would align from both Greek and English, so that it's a little easier to follow through. Let's just do a quick sound check. So you let me know if this is too loud or.
Kyriakos, are you showing the Greek?
I should just have the English up right now.
Oh, I'm not getting it. Let me see.
Barbara, do you see the Greek or the English?
There, now
I see the English. I see the English.
So Barbara or Vicki, I mean, make sure you're in the.
I have it. It's the trouble was we were both sharing.
I see.
But now I fixed it.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and play it through once so everybody can kind of hear what it is. You might recognize the melody, and we'll talk a little bit about where you might recognize it from. So I'll just the first chord or the first couple. Is that okay, or is that loud? Sorry. So I apologize for one flub in there. I'm a little rusty. Just like we haven't been singing, I haven't been playing much at all. I haven't been an organist in a few years at a parish, designated as one at least. The melody, though, I'm sure a lot of you might think, hey, how do I know that? I know it from somewhere. I noticed I recognize it actually in a minor form at the end of the Paraklesis service to the Panagia. We sing the hymn to the Theotokos. There's a hymn, it's an Exapostilarion for the Theotokos, actually, Theotokion, Exapostilarion, similar melody in a minor mode. And I think that there's a few other Exapostilaria with a similar melody. So you might think, I kind of know this. So I think this would be a great time to go over the soprano part, which is that melody that you probably recognize. Slight variations here and there, but for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. So what I'll do is I'll play the first line. If you could just sing along with me with your computer on mute. And Vicky, Barb, if you want to just keep an eye out for anybody who forgot to mute, that would be appreciated. So soprano line, and everybody else is welcome to sing along. Just so you can kind of get the words, you can sing the melody. It's a good idea to have everybody learn at least one part together, and then we'll break down the bass, the tenor, alto to fill in the choir.
Can you enlarge it just a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll play it, and I want you to all try to sing the melody line along with me on mute if you can. So that's your starting pitch. So far, so good. We'll carry on. I'll do the whole melody. I'll do the next 3 lines with a slight pause at the end of each line, just so you can regroup. And then once we get through the whole thing, then we'll break down the rest of the parts. So measure 3, a newborn day. Here's a jump up to an E flat. Okay. Drop down. Big jump. I hope I wasn't moving too quick. I just want to make sure we get everybody's part in there. So while I'm doing the other sections, sopranos, feel free to sing along your part. Try to see how their part fits or doesn't fit with yours. I'm going to take the basses first. If you're a bass, or if you're a male who wants to sing the bass part, or if you just like learning the men's part, feel free to jump down to the bass line. So if you look at it, we'll just look at the first 2 measures briefly. Notice that the basses typically, they're the ground of the hymn. They stay down below. They don't have a lot of big jumps the way, the sopranos might have the ornate, difficult part. But if you look, you jump up a 5th, you kind of stay within that range. And I think the highest you get is this A flat down here on this second line. It's a pretty straightforward part. You have some eighth notes, but for the most part, your quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes. So we'll just start at the top, down. I'll do the next line as well. And I think we should stop right there and let the tenors fill in their part. One thing that's difficult, I think, when teaching this hymn and when trying to learn it as a musician, the tenors and the basses have more than an octave space between them, which means there's a lot of space for the tenors to be floating up there, and they don't have something to echo exactly. So if you're a tenor, you really have to know your part. You have to really know where you fit into the chord. And if you're not a trained musician, you don't have the ear to fill in that way. What you can do is look at the relationship you're moving up and down once you get your starting pitch. And then that'll give you the context where you need to be for the most part. So we start up on a C. We'll go on. And I know you want to sing on because the music is designed to make you want to keep going. We'll take the altos and we'll get the altos caught up, and then we'll do the last two lines just like that, broken apart, okay, before we put it together. So altos, if you listen to the chord, you're on an E flat. So you're not a third below the sopranos, you're a fourth down, on down from. So now we're going to go on. I'm going to play the next two measures, or the next four measures, excuse me, just so you can kind of hear it again since it's been a little bit. And I tend to leave the tenor part out because my hands aren't very big and it's hard to reach past an octave, or I sometimes will pick up a note here and there. I apologize, tenors, if you're looking for notes. That's the C, an octave below where you'll be. You're up here. That's what we'll be singing. We'll take that apart again. So sopranos, you probably have the melody in your head already. We went through it once. We'll add the basses. So you're down on a low, A flat. At last have found the light of truth of His Virgin Mother, the child. Sorry. So that last little bit I'll do one more time for basses. It's Christ. So a little jump and then back down. Tenors will fill you in. At last. At last have found the light of truth, for not too difficult. If it's a little high for you, this is one where I'll say fake it till you make it. But no, actually, what you should do is rely on noticing the patterns that you have. You and the basses are almost in unison when it comes to the rhythm, with just a couple exceptions like right here. So if you feel like you can't really project a high E flat, it's okay. I want you to push for it, try to get it. And if you need to back off and hold it in tune softly, that's better than projecting loudly a flat note, which is what tends to happen. If you need to hold it a little bit softer, then do that and let the stronger tenors in your section, or even an alto could drop down, because for some altos who have a lower voice, this is actually right up their alley when it comes to register. This whole hymn actually has the potential to be a tenor alto combined section at times. And if you have a large enough choir, you could also do soprano 1-2 with the top line. I mean, you can get really creative with how you split these parts up. And speaking of altos now, we'll pick up the alto line. So this is where you fit into the whole arrangement. At last. Now, I think that's actually a very difficult alto line. It almost sounds dissonant when you hear it by itself, and that sounds kind of odd, especially compared to a lot of the music we sing where it's a major, major third playing up and down from the soprano line. You have bits of that, like right here, where it says on the last line, 4. But within just a few notes, you split. So if you have a choir director who can go down through these parts with you and really rehearse some of these jumps, I think that you really need to have a strong tenor and alto section to pull this hymn together as well. No offense to the sopranos, but while the melody is in the soprano part, it's all these other pieces and parts that move around to the sopranos below that add the depth and the character to this hymn. Otherwise, if you were just singing the melody, which you can do, then it's like you're chanting the familiar melody that you might have heard, in church, whether it's for this Exapostilarion or for another service or another hymn. Don nymphonasu, same idea, except in a more minor tone. So behold the bridegroom cometh. So that's the same idea in a minor. This one's the major. So you probably understand the melody is familiar. We got to fill in all these other parts though, because when you put it together, you heard my first playthrough aside from one little mistake. But I think it really has the potential to be a very powerful hymn. And if you just look at the words, we're going to pause and look at the words before we put it together. So we think about what we're saying. So we're singing down from heaven's holy height to visit us, our Savior came. That's one idea, one line, one musical phrase. So instead of just monotone, loud, or even mezzo forte, medium loud, instead of just continuously going, you want to build up a little bit and then come back down at the very end of that line. The second line's almost identical, same idea. You want to build up. A newborn day, a dawn most fair, and we that sat in dark and gloom, but it continues. This one actually continues. So you want to build up, come down a little bit, not quite as soft as you did on the first line, because you want room to keep going up. Because we that sat in dark and gloom, well, what did we do sitting in the dark and gloom? At last have found the light of truth. That's the point you're reaching for. You're building, 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 building. We found the light of truth. For of his virgin mother, a child, Christ the Lord, is born. And I actually think that it's almost more powerful. I know a child, Christ the Lord, is born. Well, Christmas, Christugena, the Nativity, that's the feast. So why wouldn't that be the highest point of the hymn? I almost think it's a baby. Christ is a child. Soften, let the words be the powerful piece of the last line there. So small crescendo, decrescendo, slightly bigger crescendo, don't quite come down as low. Build really up on this third line. At last have found the light of truth. You could even hold that for a moment. For of his virgin mother, a child, Christ the Lord is born. And that last phrase, Christ the Lord is born. I think if you need to pause right before that, I've had choirs when I was doing this, we were discussing, should it go, and you cut it off? I don't like that. I think it interrupts the phrase. But what you can do is really build it out, hold it fully, and when you come down on a piano, come down quiet. Christ the Lord is born, and you keep going. You don't put a break in there. But what it sounds like a break because you built so out a child, Christ the Lord is born continues out from that. So what I like to do is if everybody could find their starting note, I do need to zoom out. I apologize for those who are going to have trouble reading this, but I want to fit the whole thing so I don't have to scroll while I'm, unless Vicky, would you like to put the music on your screen? Is it easier if I just keep going? It's up to you. I can't, I'm sorry, you're muted.
Kyriakos, I'd rather you shrink it a little bit so we can see, because your picture is also in our way.
Oh, my picture of me?
Yeah, because you're talking. I don't know how it comes up, but your screen is there, but your picture is there as you're talking.
You
So
might be able to move my picture out of your way too. I'm not sure. I forget how it looks.
I don't know how I push it, but it's not going. Anyway,
That's
so
okay.
shrink it
I'll
is
make
good.
it smaller. That's fine. Is this too small for people to read though? I can try to make it a little bigger. Are we okay to go forward from there? Can I get some thumbs up? Maybe Ted, I see Miriam. Thank you. All right. Just make sure you're on mute, everybody, one more time, and we will sing this one time through together, and then I'll take a moment to look at the Greek. We won't get too far into it. So just, I'll build up from the bottom, because again, I said the bases, think of your Eson. They're that strong base. They're like the ground, the foundation. The tenors are the clouds, or the tops of the mountains. The altos and the sopranos are the angels. They're the very top of this picture, you know? So sing as if you're the angels, sing as if you're the grounding force. Represent that part as you sing. So I'll build the chord up for you once and then we'll go, okay? And just try to follow my pace. A little tough when you're not directing. Sorry. And it does take off a little bit there at the end. And that's something that I've tried it different ways. I've tried to slow it down. I've tried to speed it up. And the music's pulsing, it's pushing. You want to get the news out. Christ the Lord is born. And you kind of, if you notice the excess number of eighth notes at the end, the piece is picking up. The hymn is picking up. Even when you chant it, typically you pick up this last part of this hymn. I've noticed it time and time again. Some chanters will draw out the entire hymn, as they do with many hymns, but even then, I've noticed this very last part of the hymn, I think it's just by nature. I think it's just human, nature. You want to speed up. You want to say the good news. Christ is born. Glorify him. So I know we're about a month away.
Could we try that last stanza again?
Yeah, I would love to. For of his virgin mother, or should I go even before that? Maybe
Wherever.
Let's go at last, measure 4. So everybody, I'll give you your pitches. I'm sorry, I'll do it one more time. My butterfingers. One more time, and we'll just go on even if I mess it up. So at last. Thank you, Vicky, for letting me know that that was a good idea. I'm going to just go through the words of the Greek if we have just a moment, Vicky. I think we have till 35, so I think it gives me 3 or 4 minutes to
Yes,
run through the
go
Greek.
ahead.
I
Yeah.
think it's worth looking at it because this translation above, while I think it's beautiful and we can talk about where we think it came from, it's still not quite perfect. No English translation is perfect. It gives you quite a poetic interpretation of the Greek, and I think that's almost better than if it were a transliteration or a literal translation of the Greek. But we'll just look at the Greek. So the words are episkepsato imas, ex ipsus osotir imon.
Limon. Anatoli, Anatolon.
Somebody else is guest speaking with me, which
Yes, Maria.
thank you.
Do I have your
Anatoli.
permission to record it? Do I have a permission to record it?
The music, I can email it to you. We'll talk about that after we're all done,
Great, thank you.
if you want it. Yeah. So look at measure 3, Anatoli,
Sure. Thank you.
Anatolon. And if these phonetics are not quite perfect for you to understand, we could always, if you want to reach out to me and you want me to read it to you again, and we can, do your own phonetics, that's fine. I try to go as clear as I could. Vicky helped me with some of the guidebook reference to make sure I didn't have extra letters in there I didn't need. Again, so Anatoli, Anatolon, and you want to hold that out. Lon, Gei, and Skoti, Geskia. Evromen din Alithian, we have found the truth. Gegar ektis Parthenu, etekthi o Kyrios. So, but you don't have to take photos unless you really want to. I'll send you a nice clean copy of it. I heard someone's camera go off. I think you're gonna probably prefer to have a nice clean PDF of this. If you look at the rhythm, it's the identical sheet music. Every single note that's in the one above is in the one below. There was one mistake in English and I caught it and I fixed it when I was making other corrections. So it's the exact same music. This first measure and this second measure here, I'm just going to put annotate on. Here we go. So this first measure here and this second measure below, identical with the one exception of the first note. You start on the slightly lower part of the same chord. So sopranos, altos, and tenors are a third down, essentially. Sopranos are a fourth down from their start. But aside from that, these first 2 measures will be really easy to learn. Once you learn English or once you learn the Greek, you've got it. You've got 2 measures out of 8. You're well on your way to learning the Exapostilarion, people. And then you look at these next 2 measures, they're very similar when it comes to the chord progressions, but they are different. So you'd have to break that down. Again, the sopranos have it easy. This hymn, if you know the melody, you've got it. Alto's a little more difficult. You've got some jumps to learn. But I think once you learn this measure, this one will come pretty naturally. It's similar in chord nature. Tenors probably have the more difficult part of realizing that their part has no rhyme or reason at times. It jumps up, it jumps down. You go up to an E flat, you're coming down, go back up, you go back down. And then for the last 2 measures, I think those are a little more difficult. The last line in particular, I remember working an entire, so we were trying to perfect this for our Christmas performance in Pittsburgh. And I had one choir member in particular, I'm sure you all can think of that choir member in your parish who might be this person. Well, I can't sing that on a stage unless I know my part perfectly and I know exactly everybody else's part and how it interacts. And I know why these notes are the way they are. And this and this and this, we spent one rehearsal just on these last 2 measures, at least the piece of the rehearsal that we spent on this hymn, I should say. We did learn a few other hymns for that concert. But no, she insisted, she was an alto, and she said, I know the sopranos have the melody. I know it sounds beautiful when they sing it, but if I sound terrible below them, then we're dragging them down. We need to build them up. It needs to fit. So altos, know and beware. You have a very important part here. And if you don't do it perfectly, it's fine, I'm sure, for day-to-day use. But if you can get it to be just about perfect, you will probably be part of what makes this hymn glow. So at this point, Vicky, Barb, time for questions and open up the floor. I'll stop sharing. You're on mute, Barbara.
Yeah.
I've gotten some, oh, I see.
Muting.
Sorry,
Okay.
Ted and Anna, if I didn't enlarge the music when you wanted me to. I hope I did within a reasonable amount of time. I see that comment you had sent me.
Okay, well, thank you, Kyriakos. That was nice, and we won't be able to use it for Christmas this year, but maybe next year, or when we hear it while we're watching the live stream, maybe we can sing along. To me, it sounded just like Tonim Fonasu that we sing on Holy Tuesday. So that's where the melody sounded familiar to me. So with that, Vicky, were there questions that came through the chat? Do you have questions?
Well, yeah. Let me remind you, if you have a question, just type it into chat and I'm watching it and I'll forward the question on to Kyriakos or whoever. And then second, a reminder, put in chat for those of you who came in after we had started, make sure you put your name in the chat, followed by your church, city, state, and your email if you wish, all in one chat. Okay. So Kyriakos, tell us again, several people have asked about how to get a copy of this music.
So if you have the flyer, which you all should, because that's probably how you found the Zoom link to here, feel free to find my email at the very bottom of that. Send me an email request saying, you'd love to have the sheet music, and I will be happy to send it to you. As far as I understand, it should be, I don't know if it's public domain, Vicky, officially, but I know the Sakellarides copy has been out for ages and ages, and this is my own transcription by my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at that point, I'm willing to share my work with you.
Kyriakos, do you have a picture of the original? Do you want to show
I need
that?
to find that. I apologize.
Oh,
Hold up. So if you want, I'll work on
I
that.
think I may. It's interesting because we were wondering, it's Sakellarides, but we were wondering what was the who did the translation?
Can you all see this?
There it is.
This is what I started with. So a handwritten, not too bad, but not the most clear copy either. If you notice, the phonetics were done and they weren't really too code with what we use today. There were quite a lot of places where the phonetics weren't quite correct, and they were a little misleading even. Ex ipsus, not ex ipsus. So that's one example where I felt if I had a separate clean copy, put the Greek and put the phonetics below, most of our choirs, most of our Greek speaking people would be able to piece that together, I thought. This is the spot here, Vicky, Idio Melon, and then Sakellarides, MGHG.
Yeah, we're suspecting that the MG, some of you may recognize, I recognize the format of this and the printing of this, but I couldn't tell you where I got it. But MGHG struck to mind, being from Buffalo. There used to be Father Michael Gelsinger here at the OCA church. And I'm wondering if maybe he's the one, that's what the MG is for. I don't know what the HG is, maybe his wife, Presbytera. But maybe he's the one, but I'm going to check around here to see.
I've got it from Nicholas, sorry, Vicky.
You got it, what?
Nicholas sent me from the Antiochian website. It looked like it was a Dropbox he had. I'm gonna see if I can.
Oh, it is Michael Gelsinger. Yeah, that's what I thought. I wonder what the HG is.
I don't know if those are his middle initials because it's Michael H or it's Michael G.H. Gelsinger.
I don't think.
Can you see on my screen
I
right now? So Nicholas just
yeah.
sent me the link. Perfect timing. He's the best, as we all know. So it was adapted into English, and this is the translation. Idio Melon is what's written at that point in the in Orthros. It's Idio Melon, and each Idio Melon piece has like a letter, a number, and then the Exapostilarion is inserted at one point in there. Nicholas, if you have commentary on that, maybe that would be appreciated. But this is actually a very clean copy of the English, copyright Antiochian for liturgical use. So,
Nicholas, it might be good to put that attribution at the top of yours too, because that's helpful historically.
Kyriakos's, yeah.
Yeah.
I could.
I mean, Kyriakos, yeah.
Before I send
I'm
out,
sorry, Nicholas.
I could go back in there on my
Yeah.
I have two computers, and one has sheet music and one does not. And I'm using the more modern computer that has better webcam and everything. So I'll have to take some time later this evening to fix that. and then I'll send everybody who requests a copy, a nice copy. Um,
And then Irene has shared that Frank Desby wrote an arrangement of this same hymn in his Christmas booklet.
okay,
So there, and that you can take a look at by going to the Greek Sacred and Secular Music Society website. And everything is listed there that they have.
there's
That
also an
all of
Anagnos
Frank's
version.
works mostly.
There's also a version by, I believe, Anagnos that was sent to me. And I don't know if I'm allowed to share that or what the rules are on that version. But I do know that there are other really nice versions out there.
Yeah, isn't it funny that you think that you've never seen this hymn before, and then all of a sudden it shows up all over the place.
I think it's one of those hymns where every parish that does it has their own specific version. And you think this is it, you know, and there's more of us out there with other slightly different versions. But it's always that same melody or some variety of it. So.
Okay. Another question is, what if you don't have enough men to split the parts? What do you suggest? Should they just sing the tenor line, or should you have them?
So I'll pull it up and show you what I would think, what I would do. I think if you have enough women to do the alto and soprano part, great. If you have a few extra women that can also come down from the alto line, they could pick up parts of the tenor line. I would have the men focus on the bass line. It's just so low, but it grounds the whole hymn. I'm not saying compromise the tenor line exclusively, especially in places right here. Light of Truth, the men, bass and tenor, have more of the interesting part. So as long as you have enough women to carry the melody, I think you could compromise this third below on occasion and fill in some of these moving parts. Again, down below here, there's a little bit. You can kind of leave this chunk here out. And then when you come out to the end, Christ the Lord is born. Again, moving parts. No offense, altos, but this is the one spot where you don't have an eighth note. You've got quarter notes. You've got a slightly easier part, and it's filler to a chord. It's good to have that. But if you had to pick and you want it to sound a little more full, maybe pick up that moving part again. So I would say men focusing on the lower line, and if they can fill some of those moving parts, I think it would sound as full as you can get it.
Okay. Kyriakos, some people are asking you to say your email to them because I guess they don't have the other. So would you just spell it out for people?
Yes, it's KYTheophanous@gmail.com. So that's KY Theophanous Theophanous@gmail.com.
Okay. We want to also take a few minutes to remind you of something else that we've added. It's something new coming up next week. It's not a part of the Sharing in Song series, but it's something that Kyriakos and Barbara and I came up with, along with Anna Maria Miller, who was our presenter last week. And we know there's been a lot of chatter about using Zoom and how great it is for us to just get together, but it's very difficult to sing. And Anna Maria has worked with her choir, not only in the church, but also her symphonic bands, to really think hard about how to run a virtual rehearsal using Zoom. So she's agreed to spend a little more time, it'll be about an hour next week, next Tuesday, to show us how to use Zoom to conduct a rehearsal. Even though you still can't all sing together, she has some techniques that she's been using so that you get a sense of singing in a group still, even though you're really singing by yourself. A little bit like, you know, Kyriakos tonight played the piano, but wouldn't it be nice if you could also hear singers around you with those other sounds? So she's going to do that workshop next week. And it will be especially for choir directors, but we thought also that choir members, especially those who are IT oriented, that might want to help the choir director, would attend, and the singers might want to attend too, because they might get something out of it to see that it actually can work. Anna Maria is very enthusiastic about it. So we invite you to join us again. It would be next Tuesday. And we'll start at the same time at 7:45, and we'll open up a little bit early at 6:45 right here.
6:45, 6:45.
You said 7, Vicky, just.
Oh, we start at 7.
Yes, 7,
Yeah.
not 7:45.
Yeah, okay. And it's the same link, so whatever you used for tonight, that's what you can use, and there's no charge, and it's free to everybody. But the focus will be on what processes to use and what to think about as you're preparing and participating in a rehearsal through Zoom. So we hope you can make it, because we think, knowing Anna Maria and what she's done, we're really excited that she's agreed to do that for us. So are there any other questions?
And just while people think, Anna Maria, obviously we know how great she is. She did one of our presentations a couple weeks back. She's been doing this online method with her orchestra for quite a while now, since COVID. So she's got tried and true methods that work for, imagine a large orchestra class size, different instruments, different parts. If it can work for them, I'm sure it can work for a 4-part choir. So I think that's really going to be a treat for those who tune in.
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask once more. I sent it with a chat, but I don't know if I did it correctly.
You did, Maria.
Would Kyriakos send us his email so I can copy it exactly, because I
I'll
missed
type it in the chat, and then everybody can just see it from there. And
Yeah.
then-
Super. Thank you.
And then as you start, you don't have to leave, but as you start leaving, once again, we ask you to fill out this poll, just a few questions, letting us know how you like the workshop, what you got out of it. But stay on as long as you want. We'll be here till the end.
You won't hurt my feelings, be honest. I really do appreciate everybody who's made it to.
Vicky, you send out that flyer for next week, right? Right.
Yes, I
before?
will.
You're good at that.
I'll probably send it out in the next day or so, and then I'll send a reminder.
Reminder, yep. Okay. We appreciate that, because you're really good at that. You keep us on our toes.
And since this is our last one of the series, and we've gotten such great feedback, after a short break for the holidays, Vicky and Kyriakos and I are going to maybe start planning one for later in the winter. So be watching for the emails, and we may do another sharing in song series. So we'll see. We'll contact people and come up with a plan, and I'll be watching for that. But even before that, and while we have Nicholas Bodel here, in January, there's going to be another offering. Nicholas, do you want to talk about that with Anne-Marie Koukios?
Sure, yes. Dr. Anne-Marie Koukios will be leading a virtual choir retreat. It will be happening, I'm pulling up my calendar, the 4 final Sundays in January. So starting January 10th, it'll be Sunday afternoon through Sunday, January 31st. She'll have 4 hour-and-a-half sessions. A flyer will be coming out soon with all the details about the music that will be studied at her workshop sessions. And in addition, as I mentioned at one of our previous sharing in song evening workshops, that we will be offering a portion or part of the workshop series will be the opportunity for you to participate in a virtual choir. So the music will be recorded, there will be resources available to learn the music and to participate in a larger group to sing as part of a virtual choir that will be made available and presented after the 4 workshops. So we're excited about that. Look for information coming out. If you're on the MEFCOX mailing list or the National Forum mailing list, we'll be sure to have that information out to you soon.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Anybody would like to share with us if there's anything special you'd like us to think about for that spring series that Barbara was talking about. We thought during Lent, well, some of the ideas we thought about is we would focus on some Lenten music and maybe have some clergy come in and talk with us a little bit about either the service or a particular hymn. Did you like this format? Would you like to see something more or something less? This is your chance to give us some input on it. We sure would appreciate it.
I just want to say my name is Chris Hochleitner from Dallas, and I've enjoyed every one of the sessions and seeing all of these new faces that I never get to see. So thank you, Vicki. I really appreciate y'all pulling this together,
Well,
and I would really look forward to future workshops like
good,
this.
good.
Thank you.
Thank goodness for Zoom, right?
Yes. I know how to mute and I know how to start the video. I've learned a lot.
I know it's kept me sane.
I have a question. May I ask the question?
Yes,
Vicky?
Maria. Yeah.
Okay. Maria Karaganopoulos from Dallas, Texas. I'm proud to have my Christine Hochleitner in the choir. She's great. But I wanted to ask Kyriakos if when I heard and I listened to Episkepsa to Imas from the different chanters in Greece and America, and it was not similar to what we sang today. It wasn't so fast. It was slow, much slower. They're chanters, of course, but is it possible for those directors of us that would like to still chant and do liturgies and sing these beautiful lyrical Byzantine hymns that we have in Greek, is it possible to also sing in Greek? I put that in the chat, but it wasn't answered the question. Thank you very much.
I didn't see that question, but I'm happy to answer. If it's possible to sing that hymn in Greek, yeah. Yes, of course it is. The second page that we went over, the Greek words, of course you can sing that in Greek as well. It fits very well with the music. And I think you'll find that it flows just as well. And if you feel that it needs to go a little slower, if you're more comfortable with a slower pace, it does sound beautiful, slow as well. I just know in modern day churches, as well as when I did it for the choir concert, time was of the essence. In the past, I've had priests even request, if you could just pick it up a little bit, keep it moving. And I do think from a choral standpoint, if you slow it down, it becomes more difficult at times to get the choral progression to sound just as beautiful. Sometimes those moving lines, if you move them quick enough, maybe not quite as quick as tonight, if you want to go a little slower, as long as you keep them synchronous, it sounds just as beautiful. So very good question. Thank you.
I think she
Good.
wanted to sing it while we're doing a rehearsal, to sing it in Greek.
She wants to sing it, what, tonight?
For sessions that do more in the Greek, I think is what she meant.
I'm not able to hear you. I don't know, Vicki.
I said, I think Maria was asking to have us do the hymn that you just did, to have sung it in Greek once through, maybe.
Oh, I mean, Vicki, do we have time? I could mute
Sure.
everybody.
I mean, people we can do that. People can leave.
But if
yeah.
those who would like to stay, yeah, because the actual official presentation is over. So if people need to go, if they haven't had dinner or whatever, feel free. But if you'd like to stay for it. And Kyriakos, you will make both the Greek and the English music available to people, right?
They're in one PDF file. Like I said,
Okay.
everybody could just email me to request it. I'm getting some people asking questions about that. And I got one good question I want to answer real quick. It says, how can I get hard copies of music from previous sessions? I don't think we're doing hard copies. We're doing virtual copies as we can. And we're going to send out, Vicki, a document that explains for each session kind of what the rules are for that session.
Yeah, Kyriakos, I'd like to add a little bit onto that. Each composer has different preferences for how they make their music available. And what we've done, when we post it on the web, there will be a resource list. And for each of the hymns that we did in this series, it will tell you who you contact or where you go on a website or what you have to do to get a copy of the music. I think 3 or 4 out of the 6 are just going to be that you contact the presenter and you'll be able to get it without any troubles. Others, either want to charge a fee for it, or they prefer you buy a liturgy instead of just the music. There are different rules, but we'll have all that information. In fact, I just sent out the list to verify it with the presenters and the composers the other night. And I would say by this weekend, we'll be able to have that list up for the whole series. But for this one, if you want the music, just contact Kyriakos.
Catherine Athanasoulis here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to add, it was interesting. Kyriakos said that he used this for a pan-Orthodox concert. Guess what? So did I. But not this arrangement, not your arrangement. We used Ted Bogdanos's arrangement. I don't know whether you're familiar with
I
it.
don't know it.
He only can sing his music in Greek, but he does have the transliteral translation of the words that you know what it means, but you can't sing those words. So I thought it was interesting that we both chose the same thing to share with Pan-Orthodox.
Of course,
And-
right? High five.
Right, and his arrangement, he also has a unison arrangement of it too, so the chanter could sing it too for Mary Kyrianopoulos. Okay, that's
Catherine,
Yeah.
what is the name of this composer, of this, yes, this
Ted
composer?
Bogdanos. Ted,
Oh,
Bogdanos,
Ted, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
probably in the Denver diocese, you can get it.
Sure, that's what I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good to know. Thanks, Michelle.
Catherine, did you
Yes.
get that from his big black book, or did you get it from a
No,
separate?
it wasn't in the black book. The only thing in the black book is only unison, but he has a 4-part arrangement that's very nice, but it's not really for a choir. It's more for a concert.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So you have to work on it a little bit more.
That's all right. Good challenge.
I'd love to see that music.
Yeah.
Catherine, where did you find the score?
It was in the book that he has of all Christmas music.
So
Check with
it's part of his Christmas collection. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's in the collection. Yeah.
Is that available anywhere? Does anybody know?
Yes, you go to the Metropolis of Denver Church Music Federation. And they have a page of all of their the music that they publish.
Publication.
I think all of Ted's works are on that music, on that page.
Yeah.
I might have to correct that. You might have to go to the Metropolis of Denver, the Metropolis's webpage, and then there's under the ministries, it's music ministry, and then that will bring up the website of all their music.
Okay, thank you. Should I go ahead and mute everybody again and we can sing through together?
Yeah.
This is to sing the Greek?
Yeah, I think so. I'll mute everybody except myself. Sorry, 1 second. All right. So I have it in one attachment, just so you all know. It's 2 pages. The second's the Greek. So I will zoom out just enough to get it all in one go. Okay.
Thank you, Kyriakos.
You're very welcome. Thank you for singing along. This is fun to do. I like getting everybody together for these. This has been
I
a,
hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yes. Thank you.
You could hear me? Oh my
Just,
God,
no,
no!
just now when you turn your mute off.
Okay, good.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. And we're glad that you were with us tonight. And some of you were veterans of all 6 sessions. We're very pleased that so many stuck with us. And hopefully we'll see you back in the spring with another series. And hopefully we'll see you next week for the virtual rehearsal special workshop. And then hopefully we'll see you again in January for Anne Marie's 4-part series. Okay,
Thank
so
you,
good
Christy.
night.
Thank you.
And
Bye-bye.
we'll be on
Night.
anybody who
Good
wants
night,
to stay
Kim.
later.
Thank you.
Everybody stay safe.
Bye.